Everybody's talking to Paul. I hear every word they're saying on my laptop, on my phone. When life seems a constant battle, I tune into Earnest Prattle. It will brighten even your darkest day.
Hello, welcome to Earnest Prattle edition 10. This is my little corner, my little enclave of joy and conversation. Now, before I get on today's vlog, can I just do a little bit of housekeeping and ask you, would you please consider pressing the subscribe button, liking the video, leaving a comment or sharing? Any of those things, I'd be really grateful. So thank you very much for that. Now, on to today's vlog. We're going to tie in with International Women's Day, which is the 8th of March. And today, I have a very special guest who's a good friend of mine and was also the co-star on the recent Talking Cobblers video with Alistair Morrison. So, without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to the lovely Chantelle Jennison and Earnest Prattle, edition 10. Hello Chantelle, how are you?
I'm good, thank you, Paul. How are you?
I'm better for seeing you, Chantelle. Thank you for agreeing to do this chat with us. And I just want to give an overview of what we're going to tie into tonight. Tomorrow is International Women's Day, which is the 8th of March every year, and it's a day to celebrate women's achievements, raise awareness about women's equality, lobby for accelerated gender parity, and fundraise for female focused charities. And this year's campaign theme is Choose to Challenge, which is basically the message to choose to challenge and call out gender bias and inequality. So that is the theme I'd like to run in the background in relation to our conversation, Chantelle. But first and foremost, before we actually get into the main subject, I just wonder if you'd be kind enough, Chantelle, for those that might not know much about you, Chantelle, can you just tell me a little bit about who you are and what you do for work, please, Chantelle, if that's okay?
That makes it sound a little rude there, Paul, but thank you very much for inviting me along tonight.
Pleasure, treasure.
I have known you. You are probably the earliest person that I recall from school.
Yes, we do go back quite a long time.
Very long way. Yes, musical tastes and everything.
Absolutely.
So,
and you were the surprise visitor on my Talking Cobblers video with Alistair Morrison.
Indeed, yes.
Which is...
So we have met up a couple of occasions, haven't we? We've talked through a couple of your Wayne moments.
Yes.
We've discussed Wayne at length on days.
We have.
At times. And it's been interesting to try and see if we can change Wayne's mind, which is a bit of a job, isn't it?
It's a big job and a half, to be fair, Chantelle.
Yeah. So, but yeah, so in between knowing Paul as a good friend, somebody I believe is becoming a good friend, I have a lovely little day job, like everybody does, but in my growing spare time, I am an NLP practitioner and work with people, mainly horse riders, but work with people that are struggling a little bit with either the motivation or the mind, the mindset, a bit like yourself. And we've talked about that again at length, haven't we?
Yes.
Over time through different things. And it's my little woman's challenge, little small business that is growing. So that is a little bit about me.
How do you find horses interact with people in respect of making them feel better?
Massive, absolutely humongous. They're such an interesting creature because they sense tension. So if you've got like if you're feeling aggravated or angry even inside, they know it and they'll back off from you. They will come to you. They're really good if you're sad, actually, because they're just very empathic. So they're
I'm actually quite wary of horses, Chantelle, but that's probably from
so was I.
Well, that's from a bad experience with a donkey on Skegness Beach when I was about 6. It ran off into the sea, and I was quite traumatised. My brother thought it was funny. But I've always been a bit worried about the equine side of things.
I didn't even get into horses until I was middle 40s. So being the same age as you, it's not that long ago.
Can I come and meet a horse then at some point in the future with you, Chantelle? Yeah.
I'd be happy to introduce you to my horse because he's a proper chill character. He's really good. He's naturally really inquisitive. He's really nosy. Good. So he would be very interested to know all about you.
Sounds like a character like me, Chantelle, to be fair.
He definitely is. Yeah, he definitely is.
I mean, you did mention briefly there about you want to help me out with my problems, and I'm going to let everybody know that that's something we're going to do over the next year. Chantelle's agreed to try and get Wayne out of my head.
We're going to try and calm.
Exercise Wayne, aren't we, Chantelle?
Yeah, we are. Yeah, most definitely. It's in recognising that Wayne is somebody to be understood, and maybe offer him a bit of peace.
And as a strong female character, Wayne better be very wary of you, Chantelle, I'll tell him. And tying into our theme today with strong women, I just want to ask you, Chantelle, in current living, what's it like to be a woman?
I guess in lockdown.
Generally,
I think there is a stronger term for like more unity. Certainly in my experience anyway. The area in which I live in is not very diverse, to be quite honest, but I have found that there is a growing diversity within the workplace.
Right.
There is a greater understanding and acceptance. We have the company that I work for in my day job is massively accepting of diversity of all sorts. So we go right across the board with ethnicity, with sexual, your sexual orientation.
So do you find you're coming in the right direction, Chantelle?
I think so.
I mean,
I think so.
You did mention COVID, and it'd be wrong of me not to also mention how's COVID affecting your personal aspirations in relation to life.
For me, I've loved lockdown. I've loved it because it's given me an opportunity to reflect. I, like yourself, have been prone, we have talked about this at length as well, I've been prone to spells of depression and bad spells with alcohol. But I've found actually that lockdown has given me the chance to make a peace with that.
I mean, that's very brave of you to say, Chantelle. I mean, I like to think that some of the things I've spoken about with my Wayne character has helped people like yourself to open up about these sort of
Yeah.
issues.
It's only when somebody else talks about it actually that you think, oh, well, really, that's me. And if he's been brave enough to say it to me, then I'm brave enough to tell him, to talk back. Which is, once you start into these conversations, like your Earnest Prattle, or like your talking cobblers, that when you get that conversation going, that eventually your mind has started to let go of it.
Yeah.
That problem. So it started to take the edge off it, take its power away a little bit, which is what I like to do with Wayne. We'll get Wayne talking a bit more and get Wayne to maybe, get off his high horse.
He wants knocking off his eye. Talking of high horses, do you do any sports with regards to the horses, or do you do some sort of show jumping or anything like that with regards to the horses?
So with my lovely little steed, I go show jumping. Now, I will point out to everybody, I'm not Michael Whitaker's wife. So, you won't catch me jumping over the doors in the, or gates, etc. But I do, show jump, which is up to 75 centimetres, which is a good middle of year 5.
It's more than I could jump, put it that way.
Yeah, it's enough. I feel it's enough for me. So we'll get out. We'll probably do a bit of cross country in the summer. We do try a bit of dressage, which is that posh stuff.
The dressage.
Yes, that's we get that on. They had that in the last Olympics.
I've always found that a little bit strange. It's like I don't know. It's like horse vogue.
It is a funny one.
Yeah.
I have to say, my horse is not that keen on it.
I've always liked
It's not his thing.
Is it the Eddie Izzard spoke about a routine about a horse would be good at doing burglaries, doing dressage.
Go on.
Trot to the window a little bit and then trot into the window, trot across the front room, check behind the picture to see if there's a safe, and they'd be good for backing into a cupboard, into a wardrobe, if they heard an intruder, and then backing out of a wardrobe. So I've always found dressage good for horse burglary. Yeah,
well, I'll have to try that one.
You might, yeah. If you do get arrested, don't say it was my idea, please, will you? But while we're on the horsey theme, it ties into sport, and once again tying to International Women's Day. I wanted to ask you about equality in sport, and I'm citing an example of the USA women's soccer team, who recently they took the American Soccer Association to court to demand equal pay to the men. Now, bearing in mind that the women's soccer team have won the World Cup several times, whereas the best that the men's USA soccer team have ever amounted to is a semi-final appearance in 1930, you would say, from a performance standpoint, the women have done better. So their case was actually thrown out of court in the end, and they lost it. And they cited the reason is because the men got paid differently to the women. The men got paid bonuses only, whereas the women got paid a salary.
Right.
So, what's your thought about that argument about should women get paid the same as men in sports?
I would bounce the question back and say, how would the man think if he was only going to get paid what the woman did? I don't know, 'cause I'm not a big football person, but everybody knows that footballers in our country are paid an absolutely astronomical amount of money.
That's
a massive amount of money.
That is quite true.
Imagine if they were paid a salary like the women in America. Not so much as why is it that the woman can't be paid as much as the man? But hang on a moment, what if the man were only paid as much as the woman?
That would only work, in my opinion, if it was done worldwide, because
Yeah,
the problem you have is if certain countries only paid X amount at a wage cap, then those teams would fall behind the European teams like the Spanish and the Italians.
yeah,
It would only work if you had it universal. Don't get me
yeah,
wrong, with the COVID world, it starts the argument, perhaps it's time for a reset.
yeah,
Perhaps it's time to rethink the value of what people do for jobs. I mean, nurses who are on the front line, putting their lives at risk due to COVID, are getting a 1% pay increase,
yeah.
whilst footballers who get X amount of COVID tests every week, playing at the highest level, they get ridiculous amounts of, well, hundreds of thousands of pounds a week. It just doesn't make any sense. So maybe now...
And they've only saved the football.
Sorry?
And they've only saved the football.
Well, exactly.
They've not saved any
They
lives.
haven't saved any lives. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's the argument that it's good for mental health because it's brought a bit of entertainment back into people's otherwise dreary lives at the moment. But yes, you have got an argument as to really men's wages should come down to a certain level where it seems to be not grossly overpaid. And I think there's a massive argument, especially in America, where the women do infinitely better than the men, to have more parity in the wages. So
I guess if you looked at, particularly from a sports angle, with in the last 10 years, is it, where you now find this female football, this female boxing, women are starting to enter into
there's a lot of
televised sports.
I mean, the conversation's being had, and in other sports like tennis and golf, the women's game attracts nearly as much sponsorship money as the men's game. So there is more parity in the salaries.
Yeah.
I think with football, it's a little bit behind the times. I mean, there's this thing in football at the moment about, equality in relation to not just sex, but also,
Gender.
And, well, I don't want to say race, but it's equality in everything, basically. So there's this big movement of Black Lives Matter, which, whatever your opinion might be on that, good or bad. But the thing is, football is still a little bit behind when it comes to equality. And it's not just on men and women. It's about people's, general race or their sexuality. They've got a lot of ground to make up, I believe. So
I guess like I said, I'm not into football. I've never been into football, but I guess what you've got going on is you've got that. So if you support a team, which I guess, because I know you like football, so you support a team.
Well, I said I like football. I support Notts County, so I don't really like to talk about it, must be fair.
But you will go out, eventually when we get to go out, and let's say you go to the pub and you're chatting along with your mates, and there's somebody over the room who's a Derby County fan, is like, so just on that basis, he will instantly come across as, well, I don't like you because you like Notts County. So there's that already, it doesn't matter whether you've not even got as far as what colour of your skin or what sexuality you are. There's that isn't, because you like Notts County and they like Derby County.
Which is a bit stupid, because when England play, we all come together.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense. And I've never been one, because I support Notts County, don't like Nottingham Forest, to me, I like all the Nottingham teams to do well. It doesn't make any difference. I think it's. I'm hoping it's a generational thing, which is being grown out of people.
Do you think that's true?
I think it's a generational thing. I mean, football has been a mainly male-dominated sport until quite recently. It's only very recently we've had a full-time professional women's football league, and it's only very recently there's been more TV coverage and sponsorship for the women's game. So there's a lot of ground to make up, but I think it's moving in the right direction.
Yeah.
Like I said, there's a lot of work to be done yet. I mean, I talk about.
And if you're talking about what International Women's Day is it's what do you say? Something to challenge.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So to challenge, to start and challenge.
That's exactly what you're saying, Chantelle. It's to choose to challenge. If you think that gender bias or inequality is wrong, then stand up and challenge it.
We had a conversation the other day, didn't we? We talked about what's been happening during lockdown, and some of the things that we've missed, and some of the things that we don't want back. And in that challenge, in that respect, in that diversity and acceptance, is we talked about when you go to the supermarket during lockdown, you've absolutely no chance that a woman is going to run into you with bushcare.
No.
Or hit you with a shopping basket in the leg or their trolley because they're in such a rush. Everybody's oh so polite to say, oh, you know, I'll let you go by. And that to me is that's where we should be.
Well, that's something we need to think about and maybe take into post-COVID world. And we're talking about the big reset. It's a reset of everything.
Yeah.
It's
a reset and find. I know they call it manners, or it's civility. It's kindness. It's gentle. You know, to open the door for somebody. It doesn't matter whether they're black, white, brown, got one leg or four eyes.
Well, you're saying
you're opening the door.
Funny enough, Chantelle, I was just going to ask you about that, and I was going to say, sometimes when I have a conversation about equality, whether it be race equality, sex equality, gender equality, anything, I was brought up in the 70s. I'm a 70s child, and my mother was the nurturer, my father was the breadwinner. So I admit that I'm a little bit of that generation where my father was an old-fashioned gentleman and he believed in chivalry, and it's something instilled in me, which is you open the door for a woman and you offer your seat on the bus.
Would you not open the door for another man?
Of course I would.
I've done it. I do it. I would do it. And I do it. And sometimes I'm greeted by, I wouldn't say alarm, but most definitely surprise, because a man's like, I'm like, but I'm just holding the door for you. You maybe have your hands full with something, so I'm holding the door open for you because you're going to struggle.
Well, I find it common courtesy, but sometimes, you know, now with modern life and feminism, sometimes I've been given a bit of abuse because of hold the door open for a woman who's walked straight through and give me a dirty look, as if to say, what are you doing that for? And this is why being chivalrous in the modern age can be a bit of a minefield.
A bit scary for a bloke because he doesn't know where he is anymore.
My age group, you know, 40-something, 50-somethings, are getting to the stage in some scenarios like workplaces where you didn't be chivalrous. You can't say anything because you're scared that you're going to offend somebody.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
So you say nothing and you do nothing.
Correct.
Which is just poor, I think.
Well, I don't know, perhaps it is an old-fashioned thing, but I think it's a shame, really. Because
Well, you know what I've got. You know, we shift it a little bit. So I found of late, driving my car, that there's those you see on the road, the right words on the road, don't they? Like stop or slow
yes.
or keep clear. Now I love the keep clear because people don't.
Oh no.
And the reason that keep clear is there is because there's somebody that needs to get in and out. So you should leave that area kept clear. And I'm like, why don't you just respect that and just keep it clear?
Just why don't you change it with the phrase, don't be an ignorant git?
Yeah.
That might work.
So you're not being an ignorant git by opening the door for somebody.
Correct.
Perhaps the person on the receiving end is being an ignorant git for not just saying, oh, thank you.
I'm glad you said that, Chantelle.
Because I would think I was an ignorant git if I was brought. I'm the same age as you, and I was brought up in the same sort of fashion.
But really, it's not about chivalry. It's not about anything other than being respectful.
Yeah.
And regardless of what the gender is, whether it's a man or a woman, it's a nice gesture.
Yeah.
So I'm going to keep it.
If you can't open the door for a woman, or if you open the door for a woman and she gives you whatever crap, but then you open the door for a less abled person, they will say thank you.
Correct.
Or that is my experience. Maybe that is another table that's turning where that person may turn around and say, well, I can do it myself, thank you. I don't know. I've not met that yet.
I suppose it's difficult to know what people think, really, and it's a case of it's more about treat people how you expect to be treated yourself. It's treat people how they expect to be treated themselves, which can also be a bit of a minefield because we don't know what people's beliefs are. All we can do is try and
be open to listening.
Yeah, it's listening again, isn't it? Don't you see?
Yeah. Do you know, I've got a little phrase for you, and that would be, you know why we should never assume.
Yes, because it makes an ass of you and me, doesn't it, Chantelle?
It does indeed.
I've made an ass of myself many a time. Don't worry about that. I'm a seasoned professional when it comes to making an ass of myself.
I'm quite good at it.
Foot in my mouth.
Mm.
But thankfully, we laugh when I do.
We've done as we normally do when we get onto these conversations, and we've drifted from our.
We do go off on tangents.
International Women's Day. Pardon?
Let's get back onto the subject. Well reminded, Chantelle. So I'm going to play devil's advocate now. A little bit of debate for you. So I've been reading a book by a Canadian professor of psychology, Jordan Peterson, and it talks about something called the Scandinavian Paradox. And the Scandinavian Paradox is that Scandinavian countries are miles ahead when it comes to gender equality and, freedom of choice.
Mm-hmm.
So Scandinavian women have much more equality in choice than other nationalities, but studies show that this does not lead to equality of outcome. So the proportion of women choosing STEM fields like science, technology, engineering and mathematics has actually decreased rather than increased. So in a nutshell, with more equality of choice in Scandinavia, the men will traditionally choose male careers and the females will traditionally choose female careers. So have you got any thoughts on that paradox, Chantelle?
Yeah, I mean, so women have pushed and pushed and pushed for at least the last 100 years
Yes.
for equality, for the right to vote, for, or, you know, for these types of opinions. And we're now pushing, obviously, to be equal on the playing field, equal on the, you know, in the boardroom, equal with the salary, equal like that. But if you look back over history, time immemorial, the amount of women figureheads that are in our history, there are loads, you know, absolutely loads, but we've chosen, possibly through the Industrial Revolution, maybe, I don't know, but at a point where we forgot, or that part of our history was sort of dusted over a little bit. But now, because we are becoming, you know, we're becoming a world that we are able to access all information, even down to knowing about your Scandinavian paradox, is, you know, we can access all areas on information. So we are finding out that, you know, actually women aren't as far behind as perhaps we were led to believe. And when you can, for me, I can drive a fork truck.
I can't.
In fact, I love driving a fork truck. I love it over my desk job any day. And that is a, you know, if I could do it as a, if I chose to do it as a job, I would. But I'm happy in the job that I've got, so I don't. But I do use, you know, I do drive a fork truck with the horses at the yard. I drive a little bobcat. I drive all those types of things, and you know, I'm really happy about it.
I think the main key is, regardless of the outcome, it should be equal choice.
Yeah. I mean, not everybody, you know, not everybody wants to be a scientist.
No.
Not everybody is capable of being a mathematician. You know, I mean, I'm all on with, well, I can do a bit more than my 2 times table, but I'm not really, you know, I wouldn't class maths as being my strong point, particularly. But I think my practical skills are, you know, I'm quite happy to do things. I'm not good at mechanics, and I wouldn't, you know, I'd struggle to put air in the tire. I have to read the book every time to know how much air I need. But, you know, there are things that, why are we not quite happy to say, do you know what, I'm quite happy that other person is going to do that task. But I guess, again, that takes that give and take, doesn't it?
Of course.
You know, you might be naturally really good at cooking, so why would you not cook?
Well, exactly.
You know, if it's something you're really good at, if you're something you're really good at, you know, you touched upon, you know, how you were brought up. You were brought up with, you know, a lot of respect and an awful lot of manners. You know, how I was brought up was that my mum was a super cook, a good craftswoman. You know, she's really good at baking. She's all really good at all of the home domesticated tasks. So I naturally, you know, I learned those at an early age, and I've lent towards them. But it doesn't, you know, I am very good at craft, and I do lots of crafts at home that help me with my own mental well-being. But likewise, if I've got to go in, if we were going to decorate, for instance, we would share, between myself and my partner, we would share the job.
Yeah.
You know, I wouldn't just let him crack on with it. We would share the job between us. One will do this and the other will do that.
I think, in summary, we're getting better, aren't we, when it comes to freedom of choice?
I would like to think so.
I mean, we're in a damn sight better place than we were 100 years ago, put it that way.
Yeah, I mean, you know, really, if you think about it on reflection, if you think back to the world wars, when men were out fighting war, then women were left to run the factories, to, you know, do all of the
Correct,
heavy.
and they did quite a decent job, the same as the men would. They just got on with it. It's basically had to be done, so everybody mucked in, didn't they?
Yeah.
So,
and I guess they had probably they had less time to worry about the colour of somebody, or whether they've got one leg or not.
correct.
Keep saying about one leg. I ought to say
Yeah, that's
something
one of
else.
your key phrases, one leg.
It is, you know, if
Yeah.
you, I mean, I know, you know, when we talk about our childhood and things like
We'll have
that.
to have another talk about somebody with one leg, because I've got a story about
Yes.
this with one leg. But that's for another vlog. I think me and you, Chantelle, I think we're very good between us, even though the underlying subject has been International Women's Day. We fly off at tangents anyway. I think we just like talking to each other. So, dead quickly, Chantelle, because I'm a bit conscious of time. I don't want to overrun. But
Okay.
is there anything you want to ask me before we finish at all?
How's Wayne?
How's Wayne? Wayne's is asleep at the moment.
That's good.
I've had more poor days in the last week than Wayne days. So when the poor days outnumber the Wayne days, then we're on the up. It's the other way around when it becomes an issue. So yeah, genuinely, I'm not doing too bad. I'm shaving the pounds off slowly. I'm starting some physiotherapy, so getting some exercise in. And my mental health is at a reasonably good place at the minute. So we're getting there, Chantelle. It's a long journey. But
it is. It's a forever journey, isn't it? Really.
Of course.
I know we've talked before. We will talk about this dead briefly. And I've told you that I meditate, and I do come across people that I teach meditation to. And I actually, one of my clients recently, who is a man, and he's talking about his he's not a Wayne, but he's not far off a Wayne.
Right.
And we talked about those feelings and those thoughts, and he understands a little bit about meditation, and he's like, but it has to be silent, doesn't it? And I said, well, no, it doesn't. I says, for me, meditation is I bring a problem that I've got, and I will ask myself about the problem, and then I will sit quietly for a few minutes. And it's that few minutes that gives me that space, and that has helped me to get a better grip on my dark days.
Just for those, to put it in context, that don't know who Wayne is, they might not have seen my other vlogs, that Wayne is my black dog. Wayne's my
black dog day.
My depressed black dog day is my dark personality, my depressed.
The flip side.
The flip side. So does Chantelle's flip side have a name?
No, not particularly. It's just for me, it's like a dark curtain, and I can see it. It's like a dark curtain that wants to draw in on my world and shut out all the light and put me into darkness. But I've found ways of, and the meditation has helped massively.
Well, I'm all right. I've got blinds.
Well, you know, I mean, funnily enough, so have we.
We've got the blinds slightly.
No, we've got no curtains whatsoever. But it does feel like I had a breakdown probably about 15 years ago now, and I can remember lying in bed, and at the time we had wardrobes that had mirrors on, and I can remember just in my mind seeing like a dark curtain, you know, those really heavy dark curtain, just drawing across, and I could feel it in my mind, drawing across my mind. And at that point, I said to myself, then, you know, if you don't do something about this, Chantelle, you will fall down into a hole that you might not get out. So for me, I had to sort of say, right, okay, I don't want to fall down that hole. What am I going to do? And I'm going to find myself a way to step aside of that hole so I don't fall in it.
And considering you've done amazingly well, Chantelle.
It's always there. It doesn't go away. You just have days, you know, like you've just said, you know, at the moment, my pull days are way more than the wane days. But when you get an attack of the wane, it's a pretty...
On that, we're going to have some more conversations. Because there's so
Yeah,
much
we can
to talk about that we haven't got time to talk about.
I know. And we've drifted again from International Women's Day.
Well, I will come back to the fact that International Women's Day, we need to celebrate it. It's Monday the 8th of March. So I will put a link in the end titles to the website for International Women's Day, and I'll also, if you want to include something for your business as well, Chantelle, I'll pop that into the end titles. I just want to finish off with my usual request. And my usual request is, my mum's name is Anne, Chantelle. You probably met my mum, potentially.
Probably did as a kid.
You probably did meet my mum. So I want you to see, have you got a message from mum? Can you say hello to my mum for me, please, Chantelle?
Hi, Anne. Keep looking after Paul.
Thank you very much, Chantelle. And she is, because she's making me a tart for my birthday next week, bless her. But she's already made one tart and it went wrong apparently, so she ate it. So she's going to have to try again, but at least she tried, bless her. So all it leaves is me to say, Chantelle, it's been an absolute pleasure as always talking to you. Like I say,
And you too.
I think we could have continued for hours and hours, me and you. So we're going to have to do it again, aren't we? It's going to have to be a part 2, 3 and 4, I think.
Yeah.
But let's keep on talking, Chantelle. So I'll just say, like I say, thanks once again. I'll just sign off for now. And I'll look forward to seeing you all in the next vlog. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.